Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. Let me get my microphone in front of my face. There we go. I'm your host, Boston, and joining me as always is Musim.
Hello.
Let's actually, we probably just have a super packed episode here, so let's just put a quick plug here for patreon.com/E1M1. $5 a month is a recommended tier that gets you everything, all the behind the scenes, early access, exclusives, all of those. Patreon.com/E1M1. Musim, what have you been playing this past month?
So most of the month I've been kind of meandering around, but I'll start with Symphony of War.
Yeah,
They came out with the DLC for it. It is $7, so
nice.
I'm sure they have a package deal because the game I think is like $20 or something like that. So it's a anyway. This is the Ogre Battle style game, and I mean Ogre Battle is in Super Nintendo Ogre Battle where you're making units and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So what the DLC does is it adds on to the main campaign, and it adds a new game plus.
Ooh,
The way
okay.
I'm not sure all the way it adds on to the main campaign because by the time I got the DLC on my second run through, I'm if I'm not on the last mission, I'm on one of the missions that are not too far before it.
Mm.
But they have this extra menu where you do these legends missions, and you get to take your whole army into it and follow a new story, and it unlocks a handful of new units. And I'm not super far into that. Like a lot of the new units require an item to kind of change into.
Mm.
Um, so you can't immediately just start getting them all. You can go to the marketplace and buy a couple, which I did. I think I got some. I should have written it down, but I think they're called Inquisitors or something like that, and they can eventually turn into like black mages or wizards or something, or
Oh,
necromancers,
interesting.
or all the above. They have a branching tree, and then they added they have all these gun units in the game, which I've never really taken the time to learn because they all have different shooting distances and different some of them can fire a defense shot and some of them can't. So
Hmm.
it's not initially clear on how you mix and match them with other units to kind of get the most out of it. But they added a cannon commander, where previously they just had these cannons. Now they have a commander that I should have written down the extra stuff he did, but I did not. Um, but one of the cool things that I'm excited to see in action, which it may be a couple months, kind of looking at my free time and the games I want to play. This is going to wind up on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
They have made it to where you can summon units from your previous campaign,
Oh,
and they have some.
interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like a Tales game in that you have like an extra currency. And so you
Right.
can literally have doubles of some of the main story characters, which is going to be
Ooh.
very OP, which is, to me, that's the point of a save game plus anyway, is to be
Yeah.
completely OP.
Yeah.
So if I can have a full unit of all of that giant paladin lady, I think I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Uh, but this is it's still a really great game. It's got a lot of good value for the money, and I it is very fun breaking apart and building units. Like to me, that's a good 60% of the game, and the other 40% is actually playing the levels.
Right.
But anyway, so that's probably about all I got to say about that. I played a little bit more Mass Effect 1, um,
Mm.
which is, gosh, I have, man, I know it's probably impossible to remake Mass Effect 1 in such a way that is like 2 and 3 and make all the fans happy. Like, that's probably just a whatever you do, everyone's going to be mad at you task. But,
Right.
man, I wish they would. I really. Like, there are aspects of Mass Effect 1 I like, and there are aspects I don't. Like, it's probably more so than most of the games, you go, oh, I get a couple hours of combat, and now I have a couple hours of exposition of running around and talking to all these people.
Mm. Right.
Like, like I got to the I wish I wrote the name down. I'm not remembering the names of anything lately. But the mind controlling plant, I forgot the name of it.
Oh, yeah, whatever. I don't remember what that's called.
Yeah, like I got to that mission and like you're blasting your way through it and then you find the settlement and then you're like, oh crap, I have to talk to a dozen people and get the side
Yeah,
quest and um it just kind of anyway. I just got to finish this and then I can do Vermeer and then beat the game and then get
right.
on to the Mass Effects I want to be on. But I'm also reaching a pause on this one too.
Hmm.
Next, my friend Dave came over, and when he comes over, I wind up playing a Xenoblade game. So this time it was Xenoblade 3.
Okay.
Um, it's the first time I have held my Nintendo Switch in like a half year, maybe longer,
Okay.
and it is so lightweight compared to the Steam Deck.
Right.
Despite its technological deficiencies, it is much nicer to hold, and I think it's
Right.
about time I admit, like the Steam Deck actually kind of hurts my wrists.
Mm.
As much as I enjoy it, I'm always looking for something else to take the weight of it when I play it.
Right.
But Xenoblade 3 is just a really fun game. Like they really got that formula right in this
Mm.
one. Because I'm kind of at a point where I can just wander around and liberate colonies, which is to me the funnest part. Like each colony typically seems to have a story character that has a class that you can learn.
Oh,
Um,
right, right. I remember hearing about that.
yeah. Um, so I like kind of when I loaded it up, I was in the middle of one and finished that out and got that guy's class available to everyone. And then Dave pointed out to me that I had bought all the DLC and hadn't done anything with it yet. So I added that to the game and
Oh, okay.
went and got a DLC character. I should have written down her name, but she's a robot lady, very reminiscent of the character in 2. Um, but honestly, I need to finish this game because they have a DLC that takes place in the future that has a adult version of the character from Part 2
Oh,
and the
okay.
character from Part 1. So I want to see what in the heck it is because I hear it's really good. Um, the Gosh, I wish I'd taken more notes on talking about this game because it really is. I think, especially if you have a Steam Deck and you like RPGs, I think worth your time.
Hmm.
More so than any of the other games. Although I've been told that that DLC in particular, it helps to have beaten the other games. So now I'm like, well, do I
Oh
go back
no.
and finish one?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I only have so much gaming time.
It's true.
Um, and then lastly, and this isn't going to be a pleasant conversation. And I don't know if you've played it yet, but I've played Starfield. Um,
Yeah, I've played probably I think around 10 hours or so, my clock says. So some of that is pause time, but probably around there.
yeah, I'm probably around the same playtime.
Okay.
Like I got home last weekend. I'm like, I don't have anything to do. I'm gonna spend the $35 to get it early,
Oh, sure.
um, and tried it out. And I think that the most shocking thing about the game, and maybe it shouldn't be shocking to me, is that they literally just took all the systems from Fallout 4 and tacked on spaceships to it.
Yep.
Like, like didn't improve hardly any of it. Like the menu system is, in my opinion, somehow worse. Um,
It's very non-intuitive. Like I now that I'm about 10 hours in, I get it and I can do what I need to do, but and I see what they were trying to go for. Like I like the idea of having the like 4 quadrants on your main menu of here's your ship, your inventory, your missions and stuff like that, but none of it feels natural to use pretty much ever.
yeah, like being an RPG podcast, like all our games kind of live and die on the UI.
Mhm.
And gosh, I want to like this game, and I don't know how the general like audience reaction is to it or how it's reviewed. I haven't read any of that stuff, so I don't know if I'm going to make a bunch of people upset or not talking about it. But I feel like if Bethesda's going to keep doing this, I need to start listing out the faults that I expect improvement on.
Right.
Like, I go to Bethesda games for like an immersive experience.
Mm,
You know, they were going head over heels for what can we do for like kind of crazy immersion role play stuff, like to a very far degree before anyone else is. And this
yeah.
feels like they're abandoning that, like mostly. Like they have like aspects of it there were like, oh, you're going to be in this really ugly spacesuit, so we want you to have CO2 levels you have to balance or you take damage.
Mm,
But like you have a load screen everywhere you go. Like
yeah.
I I didn't think I'd be saying this. Cyberpunk 2077 is a more immersive game than Bethesda's
Well,
latest venture.
and I think the thing that I don't know if I'm gonna say it bummed me out. Maybe more that I was like caught a little bit off guard by this was it has a pretty slow intro where you're like mining on this horrible planet and you're following these people around, and then you eventually find the one of the artifacts. You kind of have a vision, and then literally right after that somebody's like, oh hey man, you got the thing, cool, here's the spaceship, here's my crew, go to this secret organization, they're gonna you're gonna join them, let's get going. It's like, wait, what? just
Yeah.
just like that, like that's I'm glad I'm in it, like I'm glad I'm in the thick of it, and I have the main objective so quickly. But it felt very much like we got to get people to the interesting stuff within like 20 minutes, so
Yeah.
here's your spaceship, let's get going. It was just a little bit odd.
It Yeah, I didn't enjoy the intro. Like I still feel bad for that. I should have written his name down, but I feel bad for that guy. Just like I'm just gonna take all your stuff and leave, and good luck,
Yep.
dude.
Yeah, have fun on this nightmare mining planet.
And you know they have further quests to kind of find that character again. But like I'm
Mm,
level 9, and like
yeah.
the universe he's in says it's like level 15 or 20 or something like
Oh
that,
jeez.
and like I already like I'm just gonna keep getting sidetracked on the things I don't like about this game. Like I do not like. I need VATS back. Like this, I'm not enjoying the
Yeah.
combat very much. Like I can aim it. You know, maybe it's not even VATS. Maybe it's that I don't like the weaponry, so to speak, and that like so. So you get your mining laser first, which seems to be my go-to weapon. Like it's almost a Dead Space situation where
Oh, okay,
like
I haven't really even used that for combat.
it's you know it's short range, like you know like
It's
50
got
feet or
unlimited
something like
ammo.
that. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
it overheats and it staggers the enemy. Often,
Okay.
sometimes even sets them on fire. So it's
Ooh.
highly appealing. Whereas like I moved to, um, I can't remember the name of the rifle, but it like has a 9 magazine clip that you immediately run out of.
Yeah,
Like
I wish that the shooting I think feels pretty serviceable. I wish that it's frustrating, and this is kind of always a problem where you have uh actual like firearms in an RPG where I pick up this cool pistol and I shoot it and it does like 2 damage, and it does, a pixel of the enemy's health, and it's like, yeah, but that doesn't feel great. Like shotguns feel pretty good because it just chunks a bunch of damage off of enemies. But some of the like I picked up an orange rarity SMG really early on. It's like, yep, it does 3 damage. It's like, ugh, boy. Okay,
yeah,
it's got a 50 round magazine, but that doesn't feel great.
yeah.
So
I just
it's fine.
yeah, like I agree with that. Like it really is more just the weapons than the actual shooting mechanics.
Yeah.
Uh, so that was me saying the VATS thing was probably
No,
uncalled for.
to be fair, I also miss VATS because that always just feels so satisfying of being able to take that second, kind of feeling like you're aiming a shot, and then even letting off a couple of rounds, just blap 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 in slow motion, and having it just disintegrate some sort of giant
Yeah.
mutated fly or something like that. It just always feels really great, and the shooting feels okay. The enemy AI doesn't feel that smart, which is okay because the shooting doesn't feel 100%. Like, you're not moving.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a first-person shooter, so you're not moving super fast. You're not, doing any acrobatics or anything. Obviously, you're not playing something like Destiny or anything, but it's a lot slower pace, so I feel like it matches, but it's not super rewarding all the time.
Yeah. And I guess the other decent part about VATS is you can select the target you may not be able to see. Like
True. Yeah.
I constantly turn on the resource vision, whatever the heck it's called,
Oh,
to
the scanner or whatever.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's the only way I can see everything around me. Like I'm playing on a 65-inch 4K TV and I can't differentiate like
Ditto.
after a certain distance I can't differentiate anything. And like
Yep.
there are certain things that are highlighted in that vision uh you know and when you turn the vision off like so credit okay and back up so credit sticks
Yes.
they if you mouse over them in that vision it will not say credit stick. You have to turn off the vision and then it'll
Oh,
let you
really?
like grab it. I mean
Weird.
I don't know what you're playing on. I'm playing on Series X.
I am too.
um,
Yeah. I haven't
yeah.
tried it on PC yet, because everyone has heard me grumbling about the fact that this is 30 frames for the last couple of months. I'm not gonna. It is stable, so I'm a little bit more happy, but I'm still wish it was 60. But I'm gonna leave it there. But Series X has been okay. I was saying in Discord the other day, I'm kind of spoiled by the SSD speed on the PS5, so I kind of kind of wish that,
Mm,
especially with how many loads there are in this game. Because
gosh.
anyone doesn't know that the SSD of the PS5 is about twice as fast as the SSD in the Series X, and it's stuff like this where you kind of feel it because the loads aren't bad, but there's enough of them that you're like, all right, here's a load, and here's another small load, and here's another one. Thankfully, it's not like playing Prey on the 360 or anything, where it's like, oh, this load is make and eat a sandwich. All right, so
Yeah. They're quick, but like every building you walk into, there's a load screen. Like
yep.
there's no, it's not a No Man's Sky situation where you get in your spaceship and fly it through the atmosphere. You
Mm-hmm.
get in your spaceship, you turn on your star map, you tell it where to go, and then you hit a load screen. Like
I do have to say, I do appreciate how much this game will just let you fast travel to nearly anything. Like, if you're on the surface of a planet and you can see the icon for your ship, you can just fast travel back to it. I appreciate that a lot, of just, let's keep things moving. I love No Man's Sky. Like, I like the idea of, hey man, you ran 20 minutes away from your ship. You got 20 minutes of running to go back. So I appreciate that they didn't kind of wholesale lift that. But you're right, all of it does have at least a small load screen,
yeah.
which is fine, but you know.
I guess that is a good point. Like I kind of before this podcast, I loaded it up. I thought, okay, maybe I can have a good experience on this and not be a negative Nancy. And I was in the middle of an enemy base. I was like, oh right, I died and lost like 10 minutes of game time or something last time,
I
and
do
now
wish
I'm
autosaves saved more frequently. If it was
yeah.
even every 5 minutes, I've had it crash once because I like tried to jump on a planet and it just crashed. Um, I wish it saved a little bit more often, of just when that crashed, I lost like 10-15 minutes of scanning stuff around a planet, because I was like,
Oof.
oh, I'm on this planet, I'll just go for the three natural things that were on the planet and kind of try and scan everything that's on a planet. And I lost all of that when it crashed. And it's like, all right, let's go. Let's leave this planet.
Yeah,
I'm done. Let's move on. So
pretty much.
it's interesting though, because you are having a kind of rough experience with it, and I honestly didn't want to play this game And I installed it because I thought, well, it's a Bethesda game. I didn't really like Fallout 3 and 4. Skyrim is great. I love Skyrim. But I never played any of the other Elder Scrolls games. Um, Let me at least try it because I can download on Game Pass. Let me just spend a little bit of time. It helps that I've been sick for like the last 2 weeks, so I'm like I can sit on the couch and play a Bethesda game. That is the exactly the right speed for me right now, and I think I'm enjoying it more than I was expecting to because there's something about a Bethesda game. I think this is why so many people still kind of go back to Skyrim that often, is if you're in the mood for it, or if you kind of need a Bethesda game, it's kind of like slipping into a warm bath, where you're like, yeah, all right, this is pretty good. Like this isn't the best thing. It's probably not going to be my top game of the year. To be fair, I haven't finished it. But I'm kind of appreciating what it's doing. I'm the same as you. I do have a lot of gripes. I have a lot of annoyances. But so far it's kind of okay. I'm kind of having a fun time with it, even though it's there are frustrations sort of overall.
So how are you spending your time in the game? Because I am not particularly having a good time in it. I I guess for some exposition on my part, like anyone who's listened to this podcast for more than 3 months knows I go back to Skyrim like constantly.
Right.
Like I love that game. That is one of my favorite games of all time. And I know a lot of my anger at this game is that they haven't updated, like,
Anything.
gosh, I tried to open a door, and the door kind of opened, and it didn't load. And then I clicked on it more, and I couldn't get into the building. And I'm like, this has been around since Oblivion, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the stuff that is really feels so frustrating because they had an opportunity to kind of fix the foundational levels of quote unquote a Bethesda game. Like these are Bethesda game experiences where it's just sort of like falling through the world, and I have this mission that I can't really complete right now because I'm supposed to go to this planet and defeat a bunch of pirates out at the sort of circling around the planet. They won't show up, so I jumped to like a new solar system about a jump or two away, and then tried to, in the mission menu, tried to have it chart a path to that planet, and the button just doesn't work. It works for all the other missions, just not that one. It's like, guys, like, and as much as I'm having fun with it, it's sort of like, there has to be sort of this foundational work that goes into this, because Bethesda came out before the game came out and said, like, this is our least buggy Bethesda game ever, and yeah, but that's not saying much. Like, I'm not sure that is good. Like, getting shot in the shoulder is bad, but it's less bad than getting shot through the head, I guess. Like, it just it doesn't feel. But to answer your question, largely what I'm doing is I kind of went through a couple of the intro missions where you go and you join Constellation, and they say, hey, we're going to find all these artifacts. Take this grumpy lady with you, Sarah, and then go talk to this dude. He might have one. I think I jumped to Venus, maybe, and they're like, oh, you go through one of the, essentially a dungeon. It's like, oh, here's an abandoned research facility. Take down a bunch of spacers, and then they're like, oh, now you can go to Mars. It's like, I'm going to go do something else. And I started the mission for joining the UC Vanguard, I think. And they're like, okay, go through these tutorial quests. And I was like, nope, I'm going to go do something else. And a lot of it has been kind of jumping from planet to planet to see what's going on, like scanning a planet and seeing if there's an icon there of like, oh, here's an abandoned drilling mine, or here's a shop in the middle of nowhere that's like scrapping robots and selling their parts, and here's a place you can buy brand new spaceships and things like that. And I've just been kind of bouncing from place to place because the main story seems fine, but there's nothing pulling me in that direction yet. And the thing I like so much about, we talked about how the intro is kind of lacking a little bit, but on the other side of the coin, the thing I liked about it is like, here you have a spaceship, you got a bunch of people, you have 2 companions you can wander around with. Just go. Like, there's a level marker on each solar system you try to get into, so you kind of have an idea of what you're running into. Go nuts. Like, you don't have to, we're not going to stop you from just getting into adventures. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm having fun with it, is it's just kind of like, yeah, man, just go see the stars, whatever. We'll be here if you want to do the main missions.
I do appreciate that they don't usually glue you to something.
Yeah.
I did, like, I guess I picked up some contraband when I wasn't paying attention and got kind of shoved into a sequence where I got caught with it when I tried to go back to New Atlantis, and now they're gonna try to make me an undercover person for the I don't remember what they're called, the Blood Fleet, something like that.
Oh, those pirate guys. Yeah. Oh,
and
interesting. I haven't had that happen.
That could be interesting. The UC guys are a bunch of jerks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I also wasn't really like super drawn into it was kind of funny because it almost felt a little bit kind of true to life, where your companion Sarah is like, oh, hey, I know this recruiter guy. Oh, how are you doing, buddy? You have a job for my friend here? He's like, why don't you join the Vanguard? And I was like, no, maybe I'm okay. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I have a lot of missions. Like, I got one of those missions, like, go scan every resource on this planet. I got to like 83%, and I'm like, I don't know where the other 17% is, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna kind of give up on this for a moment, because managing inventory in these games, like, is even more nightmarish now that like, when you're overloaded, like, basic movement, like, has the possibility to inflict CO2 damage on you.
Yep.
Your sidekick has a very limited inventory.
Yep.
And maybe it's because I'm using Sarah Morgan. I haven't checked to see if the robot has better inventory space.
Oh yeah, I haven't taken him out because Sarah has some sort of laser pistol that she uses that just chews through seemingly everything she shoots at. So I'm like, nice. All right, you complain to me every time I pick something up off of a dead body, like a med kit, which I should probably keep picking up, but you're really lighting a bunch of people up, so I'm not going to complain too much.
So the background stuff and the character creation I thought sounded pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
I did Explorer, Neon Street Rat, Hero Worshipped, and Wanted.
I took a
the Wanted one.
Of mine.
Yeah, like the Wanted one I may wind up regretting, because it's just bounty hunters show up every once in a while, and they aren't bad on a planet, but I really dislike the space combat, which I guess we haven't talked about yet.
Like the ship-to-ship combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels a lot like No Man's Sky, where it's kind of like, it feels fine, but there's something about it that I wish was like a little bit better, but I can never put my finger on that kind of 360 movement control ship-to-ship combat that I wish was better. And I have the same feeling here, where it's like, oh, it feels like there's something missing, and I don't know what that something might be.
Yeah, like I appreciate that they were probably X-Wing fans back in the day, and they're like, oh, I really like that shield meter. Mm-hmm. Let's give you 5 or 6 meters to manage. And
yep.
Like, I'd done some modding to my ship, which probably didn't help things, because I'm modding your ship with weapons really confused me. But
Yeah.
I at least added another more cargo room to my ship because I immediately ran out of cargo space in it.
Hmm.
But like the way the space combat works for people who haven't played it is if a guy's behind you, you probably can't maneuver well enough to like do a 360 and get behind him or something.
Right.
So what you have to do is if you push up or down on the left stick, it changes the acceleration amount of your ship. So you got to kind of bring that to a halt, turn and face the direction you want, and then press forward. And then it just becomes a push all your guns as you are flying at them and hope you win.
Yeah, I even so the origin trait or whatever it is that I picked was long hauler, because I thought that was the one that sounded the most kind of early game beneficial, because it's a lot of like you get the strength perk at the beginning, so you can carry a little bit more. You get the maneuverability perk for your ship, so it's more maneuverable, and you get the ballistics weapon perk for your ship too. And I was like, those all sound pretty good. They've turned out to be fairly good at the beginning of the game. The only one I have picked from of my traits that I've really enjoyed was kids stuff. I took a screenshot here because I thought that was interesting. It said, your parents are alive and well and you can visit them at home, but you will automatically send 2% of your credits home to them every week. And I was kind of surprised that they just live on New Atlantis, and one of your first missions you get is like, yeah, man, they just live like right over there. Why don't you go visit them? And that was a lot of fun because they have I basically cleaned their whole apartment out of like, oh, here's a backpack I had for when I was in high school. This is a way better upgrade. Here's a little bit of armor. Here's a whole bunch of food, which I really wish in this game there was a way you could just eat the food you find on stuff rather than picking it up and eating it from your menu, because that there's like no reason why you need to just do more than one click to just drink this hamburger or like eat this hamburger you found. And there's some dialogue stuff there with them of just like how excited they are that you're in Constellation, and like everybody else, they're like, I didn't know that they were real. That's pretty incredible. Good for you, kiddo. And I was like, oh, well, that's all right. Yeah, I'll take it.
I almost took that one. Like they have, honestly, that's one thing I will really give them props on. I think a lot of those starting background descriptions, all like so many of them sound like a lot of fun.
Yeah, the character creator was actually pretty good too. I thought that was, it had just enough options, I thought, to let me make an interesting character without being like, what do you want the angle of the left eyebrow to be rather than the right one? It's like, I don't need a crazy amount of customization. I just need some where it's like Diablo 4's character creator was okay, but I felt like I wanted more options for each thing. And I think Starfield's actually feels pretty good.
That makes sense. I did want the angle of the eyebrow thing, but
right.
but that's okay. I have issues sometimes. Yeah, like the Explorer one, I don't remember what skills it gave me, but it kind of brings in just extra dialogue stuff sometimes. Same with Neon Street Rat. Hero
that
Worship
one seemed interesting.
Yeah, like I haven't really seen it pay off. I've just gotten a dialogue option or two that let me relate to a character. During their massive amount of exposition, because that is the only way Bethesda characters know how to talk.
Actually, speaking of skills, though, I'm having a hard time. Let me explain. If anyone hasn't played this, every time you go get a skill, you get the benefit of the skill and you get a challenge. So like the ballistics thing for your ship, you get the skill where I think you do like 10% more damage or something like that, but you get a challenge where you need to destroy 5 ships. And then once you do that, you can spend a skill point to buy the second tier of that, which is like they do 25% more damage or something like that. And then you get the next challenge, which is 15, destroy 15 ships. Once you do that, you can get the third tier. I kind of like that system, and I kind of really don't like it at the same time. It's really weird, because I like the idea of having all of these micro challenges, because I think that keeps me involved in the game more. Because if I was just buying the weightlifting skill and I'm just spending 4 points in there and then I'm done and I can carry 4,000 pounds or whatever, that's fine. But now you have to, for that one, you have to like sprint for so many meters while you're over 60% encumbered to get the next one, which I'm kind of always over 60% anyway, because I have like 50 guns on me. So I kind of like it, and I like the idea of being able to do, like, having the additional stuff to do, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to run out of patience with that at the end of the game, where it's like, please, I have like 13 skill points and I have nothing to spend them on. Like, I can't spend a skill point on level 2 hacking because I haven't hacked 5 doors. I've hacked 3, and I can't find 2 more that are of my appropriate skill level because I'm just out in space. So that's a little, that one's, I don't know.
I like the skill tree over like some previous Bethesda games, and I like that that's there, but I feel like I need like 5 to 10 of those skills to traverse this game. Like,
yeah.
I think that's the thing that hurts me the most, is I haven't spent any points in combat. Like, all my points have been in, like, it's all been surveying stuff and talking stuff, and I'd really like to put points into weightlifting, but every time I get there, I'm like, well, I just got my butt kicked in this space fight. Maybe I need to put on, something to use whatever these thruster things are,
Right.
And every Bethesda game's kind of like that with the skill tree to a degree. Like, this one feels a bit more locked, partly because of that, and partly because they did the thing where you have 5 distinct trees, and you have to buy so many points in gosh, I don't even know how to differentiate what we're talking about, because you have the tiers of the challenges for a single skill, and then you have the actual tiers in the tree.
Yeah, it's like spend 5 points on the first level to get to the next one, and spend more in that one to get the third one. Yeah.
And you can't preview the other levels, which is immensely frustrating to me.
Yeah, because you can kind of... It's weird, because there's an achievement in the game that's like, hey, get to level 100. So I know there's going to be a ton of skill points that are available in the game, and I'm sure there's books around the environment that'll give you a skill point or whatever. But I have that kind of, when I saw how many skills were in each individual tree, I was like, okay, I got to do some level of planning, because it doesn't seem, number one, it doesn't seem like there's enough skills to go through everything, and number two, I don't see a way to respec. So I'm sure there will be. I'm not Googling anything in this game, because most of it is like, here's how bad the ending is or whatever. And it's like, no, I want to know how skills work. Like, leave me alone. That's been one of my big disappointments, is unless I'm totally reading it wrong, it's hard to tell. Does the bottom skill of like the conversation tree pay off in the end if I invest in the top ones? Because I can click on it and it's just like, you'll be the master at linguistics throughout the entire galaxy. It's like, what does it mean? What do I do? Like, what do I get? And I don't really see that, and I think for someone who has like skill tree anxiety, I think that frustrates me a lot, and I want to see all of that stuff, and I don't see a way to do that.
Well, it's like you think of the level caps of the previous games. Like, I know they didn't make New Vegas, but I think the level cap in New Vegas was like 30, and Fallout 4 I think was 50 or something, which you could not get that entire tree, I don't think. Like,
I always assume it's going to be like, you're at level 25, that's the max. Good luck. And it's like, oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like whenever they get around to allowing mods on the game officially,
Mm.
someone will make one. Like the game of Skyrim I've been playing off and on. I think I have one enabled that gives me like 2 skill points per level instead of one.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and
Because I just,
there's a bunch of mods available on PC already, but since we're playing on console, there's
yeah.
nothing really available.
And this may be part of my frustration too, since I'm normally like a PC gamer with Bethesda games. Um, like, because their console commands have never changed.
Right.
Like, you press tilde TGM, you're in God mode. Like,
Right. Right.
it is how I first played Fallout 4, how I first played Skyrim, like all of them.
Yeah, now you're playing like the vanilla Bethesda experience. And you're like, hey, man.
Yes. Suddenly I feel like maybe I was a little bit too hard on previous complaints on the game. Like, because
Well, I
it is.
mean, it's. I don't think you're out of line. I think there's, as much as I'm enjoying the game, I think there are a lot of things that kind of, it's like a burr in the saddle a little bit for some stuff. And I think, for me especially, I think as much as Bethesda games have come along in the last couple of years, especially since Skyrim, I think there's a lot of stuff that's still sort of like, yeah, I mean, maybe we can shore up some of these issues here. Maybe in time for Elder Scrolls 6? Question mark. Who knows? But
I doubt
probably
it at
not.
this point. Like
Yeah.
if they can't even fix like the body animation and
Yep.
like the facial tech is a little bit better this game, but it's still
It's
very wooden movement and characters,
it's
especially
still a
compared
Bethesda
with
game.
yeah,
Yeah.
compared to any other AAA game. And you're like,
Right.
man, you guys, why have you kept this system? Surely
That's
that is
right.
an annexed piece of code that you can replace. Like,
Right. Yeah. It's really tough because I am enjoying Starfield. People out there seem to be enjoying it a lot more than I am, which isn't too surprising because as I enjoyed Skyrim, I kind of played through that and poked around the edges of a little bit and then was kind of done. And I'll probably do that for this too. I don't see myself playing this for 300 hours or anything like that, but
yeah,
it's kind of, for better or for worse, it's a Bethesda game, just like the other Bethesda games you've played, sort of ever since Fallout 3. They're kind of always the same. And that might be kind of a warm blanket on a rainy fall day for some people, and that's cool. Like I think there should be more games that are like that. Like mine right now is Vampire Survivors, where it's like, cool, I got 100 check marks to check through on a bunch of characters. Let's just go. Let's play 30 minutes at a time. And people need that, but I'm not sure that's gonna be Starfield for me, and that's okay for me, I think.
yeah, like. If this game had come out like a couple years after Fallout 4, I think I would have been floored with it. I think I would have
Yeah,
been a huge defender. And I think the problem is it's a new game that feels like an ancient game. Um,
right.
like, and there are things that, quite frankly, Skyrim does better than this one. Like,
Hmm.
when I was in New Atlantis, I went to a balcony. I thought, oh, this is something Bethesda always shines on is their vistas. Go see a beautiful
Yeah.
view, and it was not a beautiful view. It was
Yeah.
a crappy draw distance, and it just wasn't. Maybe I can't even imagine it's better on PC, honestly, with how little the landscape was seemingly developed.
Right.
And I'm just, I guess, like I'm a guilted ex-lover with Bethesda at this point, and I don't hate the game. It's just kind of death by a thousand cuts at this point, and
Sure.
I'm going to continue to give it a chance until I can afford Baldur's Gate 3, and then I will probably ditch it off until mods are allowed on it again.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 seems to run pretty okay on PS5, and I'm like, oh, I didn't need to hear that. I needed to hear that it is terrible and it's garbage, so I don't pick it up and play it for like 200 hours.
Yeah, that game sounds pretty good, but
Yeah.
um, I man, it's. I think once I get over it that this is the exact same Bethesda game they've been selling us for years, just with a bunch of like extra stuff tacked on. I
Mhm.
think that is when I will learn to enjoy it. Because like the spaceship builder, like it's a bit confusing and maybe not the most intuitive thing, but it's also more intuitive than other spaceship builders, like
Right.
maybe like the Lego ship on Kingdom Hearts or something.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
like I feel like there's a lot of potential there, and I just got to figure out how to earn enough credits and get enough parts to really fully make use of that. Because I'm excited for the idea of building a spaceship where I have a
Yeah.
ragtag band of 3 or 4 people. Like I already have a bounty mission that's like, hey, need to transport these 2 people from point A to point B, and I'm like, is this going to go Firefly, or are these my
Oh,
new?
that's fun.
Is that my doctor and my? But I
Yeah.
can't carry that many people. I can only carry 2 people, so I
Oh,
have not
well,
accepted that.
and that's a good point because we're early enough in the game that we don't have another spaceship because I've heard pretty much the second spaceship you can get is way better than your first one, which makes sense. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I haven't built any outposts or bases or anything because that's the thing about No Man's Sky that I don't really enjoy. So I haven't really been racing off to do that in here, but that'll probably be kind of a cool thing. So that those two things might kind of ease some of my frustrations, maybe.
That is my answer. I have built several outposts, and it
Oh,
is.
okay,
Um, I guess like everything else, there are pro and cons to it, but it's mostly cons because like
sure.
you have to have all the resources on your character to use them when you're building the
Mm,
outpost. So
okay,
you're constantly over encumbered.
right.
You're getting those pop-up messages, but it has this, you press the, I don't remember what the Xbox controller calls it, but the 2 rectangles on top of each other
Yep.
button. And it takes you to an overhead view, and you can kind of plan out your outposts that way,
Oh,
which is
that's nice.
wonderful. Like
Yeah,
the Fallout 4 building would have been much better with that.
exactly.
But like you'll pick a plan and go like, oh, I want to go here. Oh, but it has a harsh environment, and for some reason I can't build on harsh environments yet. And
Oh,
none
okay.
of the skills I have access to say they allow me to build on a harsh environment. So I'm not sure what skill to take to eventually get that skill.
Right, right.
But like, I set up a thing that mines chlorine gas that seems to be functional, and
Oh, interesting.
recruited I recruited my old boss from the story mission and assigned her to that outpost because she's
Okay.
used to running outposts. And um, but like you go to a planet and you're like, oh crap, I need to find copper,
Mm,
and there's no copper around, and maybe it has to be alleviated late game or like even mid game, right? Like
right.
you have to have so many of these resources that it's just not that big a deal.
It's like
But
copper. I've got 10,000 of those. No big deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I probably just need to go back to the main story quests and follow that along until it gives me everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably where you get the another spaceship too.
Probably, yeah.
But anyway, I'll keep trying for a bit, and I will get over that. Bethesda doesn't believe in updating their old systems.
Right, you got to get over the hump.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
make me like. Honestly, it sours me on the potential of Elder Scrolls 6. Like I
Yeah.
was already disappointed that they were Elder Scrolls 6 is probably going to be in the boring territory where the High Elves are from, the Summer Islands,
Oh, okay.
and they were kind of building to it in Skyrim, with the whole Dominion thing. But
Hmm.
I really want them to go to another weird place, like like we've been to Morrowind. Now take me to
Right.
the forest with the Wood Elves or the Khajiit's desert areas, or
Yeah, there we go.
take me. I want weird culture and creatures everywhere. Like, don't
Yeah.
quit feeding me this, verbatim token-esque like, JRR token.
Right, right.
Token word token can be taken a couple ways. Like,
Right.
quit feeding me the safe stuff, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, get it
Um,
weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's. I'm sorry if you were listening to this and you were excited to hear me glow on it. I
Well,
tried to be
and
negative a little bit on my Threads account.
mhm.
I don't know if it worked.
Well, and to be fair, we've only played it for a little bit here. 10 hours
Yeah.
in a Bethesda game is like just barely scratching the surface. So next month we'll probably have more in depth stuff. So join us for our October episode for more of that.
Right. So that's all I've been playing. What else
All
you got,
right.
boss?
Destiny 2, Season of the Witch has started. Seems to have a more kind of a better, stronger, not only storyline, but kind of gameplay system going on here. There's everybody's favorite spooky aunt Eris has turned herself into a hive god, and basically you're going out and just killing stuff to make her stronger, which is really great. More Eris stuff is really good. So nothing too crazy in that. The two seasonal activities are both really good, but I'm not gonna dive too deep into those because it's still kind of Destiny. They did introduce a new thing called, oh, did I write down what it is? I don't even remember what it's called. But essentially, in the main menu of the game, they call it the director where all the planets are. In the upper right hand corner of the screen, there's a timeline icon. You click on that and you can see like a short text overview of like, here's what happened with the Red War, which is the vanilla Destiny 2 campaign, and they give you like a paragraph. And then they kind of break down each season and each big expansion. With this season that just came out, I don't think you have to own the season for it. I think it's available for all players, but don't quote me on that. You can get a quest to do reprised missions from DLC packs that aren't around anymore, or maybe are like intro missions to DLC packs that are around now. And they're really meant to introduce you to characters that aren't really in the story anymore. Like the very first one, you go through it, they explain to you who Cade is, why he was important, and then there's like a voiceover new cutscene about him, and then you do kind of like a mushed together set of quests from Forsaken about the jailbreak and kind of what happened to Cade, and then they give you like a kind of closing cutscene for that. I thought that is actually done pretty well. I know who Cade is because I've been playing Destiny 1 since the beginning, but I like that they're trying to make it a little bit more approachable for either new players or returning players, which I think works pretty well between that and the Guardian rank system they have, which kind of eases you into all of the systems that the game utilizes. And I won't go into it. They had a big showcase this past month about the Final Shape, which is the next upcoming expansion. And thankfully, one of the things that they talked about, there's going to be an in-game LFG system coming next season, but they also announced that when the Final Shape launches, essentially they're doing away with power levels, gear level, any whatever you want to call it, any games, they're essentially doing away with that. And for some activities where they're not doing where power level matters, you can invite a player like Musum you haven't played for a while now, and they have something called friend levels, which is essentially I could invite you into my game, and no matter what level you are, it just pulls you to my level, and we can just play whatever.
Oh,
Which
nice.
I think is really great because there's nothing worse to being like, all right, I'm going to come back to Destiny. It's been a couple of years. Everybody says it's great. How much homework do I need to do the fun stuff? This is not great. Okay. So I'm hoping that alleviates a lot of the understandable issues that a lot of people are having with Destiny and kind of getting into and revisiting it. And then real quickly, it wasn't this week, but it was the previous week. They launched the most recent reprised raid / maybe the last one. They launched Crota's End, which is the kind of infamous short one from Destiny 1. The the semi-serious raid group. We did our first run of it yesterday, and none of us were really like 100% there. It's been a rough week/month for pretty much all of us. So we kind of dipped our toes into it and did pretty well. But that seems really well done so far, and Courte's End was famous or infamous, however you want to say it, in Destiny 1 for being pretty short and pretty easy. And I think they've done a good job in Destiny 2 for making it more mechanically interesting and making it a little bit more difficult, but not overly so, which I think is kind of a tough balancing act. So, seems good so far. Destiny 2 continues to be great. It's also still kind of Destiny 2, so there's not always a ton to talk about. Brand new game here, though. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis just came out. It is a mobile-only game. I'm not going to talk too much about this one because basically you go through a tutorial mission about how to play it, which is Zack versus Sephiroth. And then it goes into the intro of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then dumps you into the bombing mission for kind of the second part of the intro/tutorial. And I do like how this looks quite a bit. I think in the CG stuff it looks... I think it just is the Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff, which looks incredible. And then when it's in-game, you kind of get the famous kind of character portraits that look they've been modernized a little bit. And then the in-game character 3D models are these kind of fun chibi representations of like the Final Fantasy VII character models, where, you know, Barrett has those kind of like Popeye arms where he's, you know, it's got like one big polygon section and a little tiny little bit and then another big polygon section. So it's kind of fun that they make that stuff look pretty similar to like a modern PS1 Final Fantasy VII, which I think is pretty great. The real bummer of it, though, is that once you finish this mission, dumps you into the main menu, and hey, it's a gacha game with the same gacha menu that all of these games have, and they give you a ticket to do a 10 pull, and you get a whole bunch of items, and you get all this stuff, and it's 100% wind out of my sails for that.
Yeah.
It's especially a bummer after I felt like they did a really good job with, I think it was called Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition or something like that. They had like a chibi shortened version of Final Fantasy 15 where it kind of told the entire story of the game over, I think it was 4 episodes or something. But it was playable, had a bunch of cutscenes and stuff, but it didn't have any of this gacha stuff. And it feels really crummy to say, like, we're going to retell the story of Final Fantasy VII and some other stuff, and some new stuff about, like, the rise of Sephiroth as a hero and soldier. And here you're going to do your 10 pulls, and you do your daily missions, and you got a new bangle for Red 13. Yay, it's a 4-star. And it's like, man, guys, you just, like, come on. Like, it's just a real and I'm not the world's biggest Final Fantasy fan, so I can't say like they ruined one of the best games ever, but like, come on, guys, it's a bummer. So I don't think I'll really be playing too much of it because I don't know. It hasn't been a gacha game that I've been really interested in for a while, and I don't think marrying Final Fantasy VII to a gacha game is really going to do it for me. So I don't know if I'll really stick to this one. So, which is kind of a bummer. So, 2 more games real quick though. Diablo 4. I did finish it. I won't spoil anything about the ending. I thought it was fine. Cutscenes, of course, look incredible. I did start a seasonal character. I started a Necromancer, which is a whole lot of fun. I've really been enjoying that, but I'm kind of burnt out on battle passes and seasonal events and all that sort of stuff from, seemingly every game that has them nowadays. So
Yeah.
I think I got like a handful of levels in the season pass. It did some of the seasonal event stuff and thought, yeah, it's fine. Like if I'm probably won't play this solo anymore, but if every once in a while the Destiny crew, we play other stuff than Destiny, I'd be happy to play that with the two of them too. But like other than that, I'm not sure I'm gonna do it. And I think the nail in the coffin was, I think it was this week or last week, Blizzard was like, yeah, we're going to have a whole bunch of seasons every year. We're going to have a yearly expansion, and we're going to have seasons filling it in. And I was like, bro, I do that with Destiny. Like, I can't do that with another game. And, like, after this last expansion with Destiny, like, that's kind of barely keeping me around. So the idea of a game that I kind of like okay enough asking me for that much money and time over a year, I don't think is really gonna happen. So Diablo 4 is fine. I enjoy it, but if I'm gonna go back and play something, I'll probably play Diablo 3 because I think their seasons are much more interesting. But go check out Diablo 4. It's all right. It's pretty good. Last game this month, Sea of Stars. Been looking at this game for a couple of years now, and thankfully it is out. It is available as part of your PS Plus or Game Pass subscription. So you probably own it on something. And if not, I think it's $25, which seems pretty fair for an RPG. I am maybe only a handful of hours into this one. But I don't remember who wrote this online, but I'm stealing it. Sorry, person on Twitter. But it's the familiar but fresh formula that we kind of saw with like Chained Echoes. This is a 2D pixel art RPG. It's like a turn-based command RPG that is a mix of Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG in gameplay. So the Chrono Trigger stuff comes out in that you can, like one of the first abilities you get as Chrono in Chrono Trigger is you get that kind of spinning attack that hits multiple enemies if they're next to each other. It's the very first one you get for one of your party members. It does the exact same thing. Has a Mario RPG thing where if you hit your button at the right time when they attack, it does 2 attacks. You hit the button at the right time when you're defending, it does a lot less damage, that sort of thing. This game will probably be kind of famous for you can pick either the female or male main character, and that's just kind of who you control as you're wandering around the map. And both characters go with you, so it's not just like, all right, this guy just disappears forever. But the female character, she can kind of knock back an attack that she uses. So you're kind of ping-ponging it between yourself and a bunch of enemies, and you can go pretty high with the number of bounce backs you're doing. I'm not super deep into it. I think I'm maybe like 2 hours or so. Word on the street says it's about 20 hours, which is great. I would like for more games to do that instead of being 200 so. But so far, it's really solid. It does a really clever thing at the beginning of the game where you're kind of you do your kind of tutorial wandering around this area, and they say, oh man, I wish our friend was here, but after what we did and after what happened, I'm not surprised that he's not with us. And I was like, oh man, already? Like, you're gonna do this thing? And then it just rewinds time like about 10 years and starts you at the beginning of the story, and then by the end of the tutorial you meet back up with that scene and you keep progressing forward. So it's this kind of fun little loop thing that they did in the intro, which has been pretty fun. The writing is pretty solid. The music is incredible because it's a Mitsuda soundtrack, and everything he makes is just outstanding. yeah, I so far really happy with how this has turned out, and I'm excited to play more of it. I haven't been spending a ton of time with it this week, largely because of Starfield, but I'm kind of pumped to check out more of this. That's Sea of Stars. You probably own it somewhere, so if that sounds interesting, you should check it out. Let's do before we go. Let's do our releases real quick here. We were just talking about Baldur's Gate 3 that did come out on September 6th for PS5. Everything I hear is that it runs pretty well overall, and it does have couch co-op in it as well. The Xbox version is coming out sometime this year. And the Series X version will have couch co-op, and the Series S will not. Sounds like they might continue to work on it to see if they can get that out, but that was kind of the sticking point, is they couldn't get couch co-op to work on both consoles. Thankfully, Microsoft has allowed them to put it out without having that feature parity. So we'll talk about it on the show whenever it comes out. We actually just talked about Starfield. That came out on the 6th. Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster comes out on the Switch on the 15th. These are two games that I felt like I would always really like, and I never played them when they came out on GameCube, I think is when they came out here in the States.
Yeah.
Did you ever play these?
I did not, but I had a few friends that did, and they loved it. They'd start telling me how great it is, and then they'd tell me it's a card game, and that usually makes me not play a game.
It's weird because it's like it's an action card game where you're like tossing cards out very quickly instead of this kind of slow turn-based thing. So it always seemed kind of interesting.
They're supposed to be a good set of games from what I remember.
Yeah.
They just, had a very niche audience in that very few people played it.
Yeah. Actually, we talked about Cyberpunk 2077 earlier. The DLC Phantom Liberty comes out, PS5, Series consoles, and PC on the 26th. This seems like Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I think I'm going to try it out. I don't know if I'll try it out on release date. That's just going to depend on, like I've been saying, Baldur's Gate 3.
Right.
But, especially after playing Starfield, I'm like, they're about to release that big patch that's supposed to fix the majority of things and add a lot of new stuff to it. And the DLC is kind of pricey. It's like $30, but
okay.
I mean, why not? I didn't mind my time with that game, and maybe it's time for me just to start over.
Yeah, and it like you said, this is a big DLC pack that's coming out, but they're also putting out a pretty significant patch alongside of it, where they're kind of touching and revisiting or redoing seemingly nearly every system in the game overall. So it might be a good time to either pick it up for the first time and check it out, or maybe kind of go back to it if you had some problems with it, because they're redoing almost everything in the game from the ground up. It's pretty impressive. So I hope it comes out and it has a smooth launch.
Me too. And it was never a bad game. It just had 1,000,001 technical issues. And I don't know that. I think its other problem was it was never a great game. It just was it was, depending on who you were, you would say it was probably decent to good. I have not met anyone who was blown away about it, but I enjoyed my time in that game. It feels it's a very immersive game, and you get a lot of customization with V and whatnot. But anyway,
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Next up is Disgaea 7 Vows of the Virtueless, comes out on PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC on October 3rd. I love watching Disgaea trailers because I think the last one I played was 2, maybe, and the features they have of new systems and everything just look incredibly bonkers, like these games have always been. So I can't play these games anymore because I go way too deep into them. It's like the only game I'll play for months. So I from a self-preservation standpoint, I really can't. But I really do love them. They're so good.
It is one of those series where I'm like, if you're a fan of this series, do you have time to play any other games? Because I feel
Right.
like they bring them out so often, and the revised versions out so often, and like you
Yep.
load up the game, and I don't remember if this is this guy or one of the other offshoots, but like, oh, I can jump into an item which has 100 levels of dungeon in it.
Right.
Like,
Right. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, that's where it gets dangerous for me. Ugh, love these games. Silent Hope is coming out on October 3rd. This is a kind of interesting looking. Whoop, that's the wrong button I pushed. There we go. This is an interesting looking kind of chibi. I don't know. Oh wait, what did Switch and PC? Sorry if I didn't say that. Kind of a fun looking action hack and slashing kind of making a bunch of alchemy stuff RPG. I actually don't know who's. Oh, Xseed is publishing this. So it looks pretty fun. It's like an isometric hack and slash thing that has a pretty interesting looking style. So I hadn't heard about this before today. I feel like they showed it on a Nintendo Direct that I didn't see, but it looks cool. That looks like a neat little thing. That's Silent Hope. Next up, a game that is maybe an RPG. We'll have to see. Assassin's Creed Mirage comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series consoles, and PC on October 5th. Feel like you kind of know what these games are at this point. We'll see if this one kind of leans harder into the RPG stuff or if it is a return to the roots that Ubisoft says it might be. But we'll have to see. It looks good either way. I'll probably pick it up at some point. Watch a YouTube story breakdown of Valhalla because I am just never going to finish that game whatsoever. So we'll have to see. Last but certainly not least, Front Mission 2 Remake comes out on Switch on October 6th. This got pushed back. I think it was supposed to come out originally a couple months ago, and it got pushed back quite a bit. So it looks like this is finally coming out. I believe this is a different team releasing this than redid the first one. So maybe keep in mind if you liked or didn't like that first one, this might be a bit of a different story here. But if you liked the first one, Front Mission 2 was also really good back in the day. So
I think this is the first time Front Mission 2 may have been released stateside too.
yeah, because Front Mission 1 got a remake on Game Boy Advance or DS or something like that.
I'm pretty sure it's DS.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't think 2 got released on anything here. And I remember having fun with 2 quite a bit when I played it when I played it originally. So
yeah, and 3 was, that was a PlayStation 1 game, and that was honestly back then it was amazing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that was a pretty technologically impressive game back then. Yeah. All right, well, that's all of our releases. That means that's the end of this episode. If you'd like to visit us, you can do so at pickingupthepixels.com. Everywhere to find and follow us is on the right-hand side of the page. Musim, where can we find you online?
You can find me at my link tree, which is linktr.ee/John Musim.
You can find all the other E1M1 shows over e1m1.com. If you want to find me and where all my stuff is, like Destiny Emblem Collector and stuff like that, you can check my campsite, campsite.bio/Jansten, Jansten. That's got all the cool socials and whatnot. I don't know if I've added Blue Sky or whatever over there. I guess I gotta look now. Now that we have like 15 social media platforms, I gotta add the other ones over there. So maybe I'll do that soon. But I think that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.